Okay, let's just dive right in. When you think about what actually powers the internet, there's this one piece of tech that's, well, it's a monster hiding in plain sight. We're going to peel back the layers on Nginx, and I promise you, it is so much more than just a web server. It's like the ultimate Swiss Army knife for building a fast, solid, and scalable web. So let me just start with this question. Just think for a second about all the websites you visit, every service you use. What one thing is sitting behind the scenes, serving up content for more than a third of the entire internet? I mean, that number is just staggering when you really stop and think about it. And yeah, you guessed it. The answer is Nginx. But if your first thought was, oh, right, the web server, I need you to just erase that idea. That doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. Nginx is an absolute beast. It can be your load balancer, your content cache, an API gateway, you name it. Today, we're going to see why it really is the web's ultimate multi-tool.
To really get Nginx, you have to go back to its origin story. See, it wasn't built to be this jack of all trades from the start. It was born out of pure necessity to solve a very, very specific problem that was absolutely crippling the early web.
So picture this, it's 2002. A Russian engineer named Igor Sysoyev decides to tackle what everyone was calling the C10K problem. The C is for concurrent and 10K for 10,000. The challenge was, how do you get a single server to handle 10,000 simultaneous connections without just falling over? It was a massive bottleneck. And his solution? Nginx. It got so popular and so powerful that a company was formed around it in 2011, which then got bought by F5 in 2019, really cementing its place as a cornerstone of the modern internet. So, Nginx solved this huge performance puzzle, but its real power doesn't stop there. Let's talk about the feature it's probably most famous for today, its unbelievable ability to act as a super efficient reverse proxy. Okay, so what even is a reverse proxy? The best way to think about it is like a receptionist for your web services. A user makes a request, but instead of talking directly to your app, they talk to Nginx. Nginx then looks at the request and smartly forwards it to the right backend service. It's this middleman, and that simple idea is fundamentally powerful. And you know what's wild? This incredible power is often unlocked with just one simple, elegant line in a config file. Proxy pass. That's it. That one little command tells Nginx, hey, when you get a request here, don't handle it yourself. Just pass it on to this other server. This one directive is the key to basically everything we're about to explore. Being a gatekeeper is one thing, but Nginx also has a serious need for speed. It's got features built right in that are designed to just crush latency and make everything feel instant. We're talking about caching and compression. All right, let's break down how this caching magic works. The first time a user asks for something, Nginx calls it a miss. It has to go all the way to the backend server, grab the content, give it to the user, and here's the key part, it stores a copy for itself. The very next time anyone asks for that same content, it's a hit. Nginx serves it directly from its super fast memory, and the backend server never even hears about it. It's brilliant. And here is its other performance superpower, compression. Before Nginx sends a response back to you, it can literally squish it down using gzip. And the results are, well, they're just insane. Look at this. We're talking about taking a response that's over 12,000 bytes and shrinking it down to around 400. That is more than a 30 times reduction in size. That means faster downloads, lower data bills, and way happier users. Okay, so Nginx is fast and it's a great proxy. But what happens when you get too popular and there's just too much traffic for one server? Well, you guessed it, Nginx has you covered there too. It can transform into one of the best load balancers on the planet. You know, the most important word here is availability. Load balancing is all about taking all that incoming traffic and just spreading it out intelligently across a whole group of backend servers. This way, if one server gets too busy or, heck, even goes down, Nginx just sends the traffic to the others. Your website stays up, your app stays responsive. It's that simple. And Nginx is no one-trick pony here. It gives you multiple ways to spread that traffic out. The default is just simple round robin. You know, one for you, one for you, one for you. But you can get way smarter. Least connections sends the next request to the server that's doing the least amount of work. And IP ash is awesome for what we call sticky sessions, making sure a user always ends up on the same machine. That flexibility is just crucial. So let's start tying some of these ideas together. Because Nginx is sitting at the very edge of your network, acting as this proxy and load balancer, it's in the perfect position to also be your security guard, the gatekeeper for your entire infrastructure. And here are two huge gatekeeper jobs it does. First, as an API gateway, it can enforce rate limits. This stops any one user, or maybe a bad actor, from just hammering your services into the ground. Second, it can handle something called SSL termination. Think about it. All that secure HTTPS traffic involves a ton of complicated encryption. Nginx can do all that heavy lifting at the front door, so your internal servers don't have to. They just get simple, clean traffic, which makes them way faster and more efficient. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking Nginx has to be this massive, complicated piece of software to do all this stuff. And that, right there, is where you'd be wrong. This might just be the most incredible part of the whole Nginx story, its insane efficiency. And this chart says it all. I mean, in today's world of Docker and containers, every megabyte counts. The standard Nginx image is already pretty small at 172 megs. But then look at the Alpine version, just 53. And then you have Alpine Slim, which packs almost all of this power into a jaw-dropping 12 megabytes. That is just wild for a tool this capable.
And don't let that tiny size fool you for a second. Remember, Nginx was born to solve the C10K problem, and it still lives up to that legacy today. It can easily handle over 10,000 requests a second, all while barely sipping any memory. It is a true performance beast in a tiny, tiny box.
So, I'll just leave you with this one final thought. We've seen Nginx act as a web server, a reverse proxy, a cache, a load balancer, and an API gateway. Now, think about your own tech stack. Think about all the dedicated and often really expensive cloud services you might be paying for to handle each one of those jobs. How many of them could be replaced by this one free, open source, and unbelievably efficient tool? It's definitely something worth thinking about.